Hello again, everybody. As always, this is Antonio, Seeking the Truth. So if you watch any of my videos up to now, I'm hoping that you can see that I'm simply trying to share the truth about the Bible and the world that we live in today. Now, for those of you that still don't believe in the Bible or believe in Christ, um, I encourage you to continue to watch my videos and subscribe to my page. I believe the reason why a lot of people don't believe in the Bible today is because a lot of things being taught in mainstream Christianity are actually lies that are purposely meant to mislead people into not believe in the Bible. Now, for those of you that are Christians and do believe in the Bible, also please encourage you to continue to watch my videos, subscribe to my page. Um, but I also encourage you to be careful about everything that you hear being taught and preached by your pastors in your churches. The truth is that Satan is actually the master of lies and deceit. And there's a lot of things that are being pushed and taught in mainstream Christianity and other religions that are actually far off from the truth. I want to read a quick Bible verse right here. This is Revelations chapter 12, verse 9, and it reads, And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So I wanted to read that because what that is, that's basically a biblical prophecy that's showing in the last days, Satan would actually end up deceiving the whole world. And believe it or not, we're in the last days right now. So, and right now, the whole world has basically been deceived into believing many of the lies that Satan has come up with. So what I want to address today is the image of so-called Jesus Christ. So the image that we see hanging on a cross, the same image we see being portrayed in movies and television and admired in sculptures and paintings all over the world is actually not a true representation of what Christ really looks like. Jesus wasn't even his real name for that matter, but I'm going to that teaching on another day. Today I only want to focus on the image of Christ. So for starters, we shouldn't even be making images of Christ or anything in heaven for that matter for us to pray and worship to. So I'm going to read another biblical verse. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 4, and it reads, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So right there, it's already bad enough that we have people praying to an image and making graven images of something of Christ in heaven. But it's on top of that, even if we were going to make an image of Christ, it would not be the image of a European white man. In fact, the Bible clearly explains that Christ was from the tribe of Judah. And there's also there's a couple of different biblical passages where the prophets give physical characteristics of Christ that actually characterize him and give him characteristics of a black man. So the majority of Christians that pray and worship to the image of Jesus, of that white man, is actually the image of one particular man named Cesare Borgia. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about the Borgias, the Borgia family is actually remembered today as one of the most vile families in Roman history. Their whole family history is filled with incest, adultery, murder, scandal, everything vile and evil that family did. So, for starters, in that family, Rodrigo Borgia was a murderous tyrant who actually bought himself a seat into the papacy. He bought himself a position to be in the clergy, and the only reason why he did that was so that he could attain power in that region for him and his family. So, and soon after Rodrigo Borgia bought himself that seat, purchased his seat into the cabinet, he later became Pope Alexander VI. So, now Pope Alexander, he actually had two sons. He had an older son named Giovanni. He also went by Juan, and he actually became the captain general of military forces of the papacy. And Giovanni, he had a younger brother named Cesare Borgia. Now, Cesare Borgia, he was always jealous and envious of his older brother Giovanni. So in 1497, Cesare actually had his older brother Giovanni assassinated just so he could attain that office. Now Cesare, he also had a sister named Lucretia. Now Lucretia, she was basically just repeatedly used as basically a pawn to gain and retain power in Rome. So basically through Rodrigo and Cesare, they basically just used her as a pawn, marrying her off, having her sleep with men of different status just to attain power and recognition in different political seats in Rome. Now, even though throughout Lucretia's multiple betrothals, she still had an intimate incestual relationship with her brother Cesare. So Cesare Borgia, this guy that being put up as Christ, had an intimate incestual relationship with his sister Lucretia. Now, on top of that, he also had an intimate homosexual relationship with his chief architect engineer, which at that time was Leonardo da Vinci. So in short, who Cesare Borgia was, he was, and this the guy that we have this false image that people pray to, he was a murderer that killed his own brother. He was a homosexual, and he had incestual sex with his sister. And this is the image that everyone prays to and thinks is the so-called Jesus Christ. So the question would ask is why? How did this happen? Why is everyone praying to Cesare Borgia and thinking that this guy's Jesus? So what happened was during the 14 and 1500s, there were basically four dominating religions. There was Islam, Judaism, paganism, and Christianity. Now, the Roman Catholic Church, they were obviously pushing Christianity, but they were having a lot of pushback because everyone in that area, they still knew that the image or skin complexion of Christ was that of the same as those of the Muslims and the Jews. So the same people that were pushing Islam and Judaism, they had the same skin complexion as Christ, whereas the main people who were pushing Christianity was the Roman Catholic Church, and the Roman Catholic Church was predominantly European. They were white. So what happened was Pope Alexander VI, he actually ordered the deconstruction of all Semitic or basically colored images of Jesus. He ordered all of them to be removed and destroyed or painted over. And then he commissioned multiple paintings and depictions of a Caucasian image of Christ. So he basically used the period called the Renaissance period, which this was basically a battle between two famous artists. This was Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, and he issued a competition to see who could impress him the most by drawing a new image of Christ. And the model for this new Christ was actually going to be Rodrigo's son, Cesare. So that's where we get Cesare Borgia as the image of Jesus Christ, because he was actually the model that Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo used to impress their father, to impress the Pope, Rodrigo. So now that's how basically the worst Borgia in history actually got used to be as the image that would be set up as Christ in the New World, which is now considered America. And what made matters even worse, the Catholic Church, they knew and gave their consent on allowing that picture to be put up as Christ in the New World. And the reason why they did that and gave that consent is because it was the Pope. You know, the Pope is in charge of the Roman Catholic Church. It was the Pope's son. He allowed it. It went to a new world. It became all that they knew. So like I mentioned in my previous video, there's the original King James version of the Bible, 1611 version of the Bible, actually has the Apocrypha still in it. But in 1928, under order of the Vatican, they actually made an agreement to take 15 books out of their original King James Version Bible. Now, one of the big reasons why they did this is because thousands of years after they, I'm sorry, not thousands, excuse me, hundreds of years after they took this image of Christ out, they realized that what they did was actually spoken of. It was actually a biblical prophecy that was written of in the Apocrypha, and it explains what they did and why they did it. So when the Roman Catholic Church realized this, they immediately had all the books of the Apocrypha taken out of the Bible. So what I want to read is, I'm going to actually read a couple verses from the Apocrypha that explains this exact scenario. I highly encourage everybody to go get a version of the Apocrypha for themselves. You actually don't have a complete Bible if you don't have the Apocrypha. What I'm actually going to read is chapter 14 of the Wisdom of Solomon. So chapter 14, starting at verse 12. For the planning of painting idols was the starting of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. Verse 15. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he hath made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Verse 16. Thus in process of time an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. Okay, so right there, that was just 3 verses in the Wisdom of Solomon that they had taken out of the Bible. Now, even though that was only 3 verses, those were 3 huge verses that if they would have kept them in the Bible, it explains a lot. And they wouldn't have been able to keep on this lie of Cesare Borgia being the so-called image of Jesus Christ. So the father afflicted with untimely mourning, that's Rodrigo Borgia. When he had made an image of his child, that's in reference to his son Cesare, because his image was put up to be Christ, which they now honored him as a god, even though after he was dead. So they used this false image of Cesare as Christ, and they also brought with that false teachings of ceremonies and sacrifices that we now call today Christmas and Easter, which over time they had become part of the law of Christianity. Now, honestly, I used to believe that skin color didn't matter, but then I had to ask myself, if it didn't matter, then why did they go so much trouble to take it out? The fact of the matter is that your skin color does matter. It shows a person their ethnic heritage and where they come from. And also, if you don't understand your ethnicity and your heritage, there's a lot of things in biblical prophecy that people won't understand. Like who the 12 tribes of Israel are. The 12 tribes of Israel is depicted throughout the basically entire portion, the whole book of the Bible. But today, mainstream Christianity will have you believe that we don't know who those 12 tribes are. But I'll go on a future video that we do know who they are. But right now, like I said, the next thing I just want you to do is click subscribe on my page, look at the next video. It gives a short presentation of who Cesare Borgia was and how his image came to be what we call today the so-called image of Christ. So as always, I want to thank you for subscribing to my video. I obviously can come back, click on the next video, but as always, remember to seek the truth.